It's 11:30 a.m. here in Accra, Ghana. Good morning. Welcome to News from here on GHOne Television. We are live from our studios from the Platinum Place, Northridge, Accra. Now, here's what to expect in the next hour. Court orders Electoral Commission to collate and declare in Nsawam Adwejiri parliamentary results. Also, Finance Minister Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam expected to lay mini budget for the first quarter of 2025 in Parliament today. In business, hoteliers express readiness for tourist reservations ahead of the Christmas holiday. And elsewhere, ex-minister sentenced to 5 years for corruption in Guinea. We've got details of these stories and more in the bulletin. Stick and stay with us. Grateful for your company this morning. I am Joshua Kodjo Mensah. The details. The High Court in Accra has ordered the Electoral Commission to proceed to collate and declare the parliamentary election results of the Nsawam Adwejiri and Ablekuma constituencies. Now, the court, presided over by Justice Reverend Joseph Eduusu Ajiman, has also ordered the Inspector General of Police to provide adequate security to the EC at all collation centers. Now, the order of the court was made on Friday, December 20, 2024, following a mandamus application from incumbent Member of Parliament for Nsawam Adwejiri to compel the Electoral Commission to collate and declare the results. Now, lawyers of the EC, led by Justin Amenuvo, said the EC has been served with the application but did not oppose to it. EIB Network's legal affairs correspondent Mutala Inusa is reporting that a joined motion from the NDC has been declined. So let's go over to Zoom and speak with Mutala Inusa on the development. Mutala, so talk to me, really, what is the issue at hand?
Well, Joshua, if you come to the court right now, certainly by the close of day, we'll be having some interesting decisions to contend with. First, lawyers of the NPP parliamentary candidate that you have mentioned, Frank and Odompre, have come to the court. In fact, the Ablekuma Central, Ablekuma North, Obuasi East, Tema Central, all these parliamentary candidates who had issues with their election results have come to the court with a mandamus application in relation to Nsawam Adwejiri. The court has made an order to the Electoral Commission and also the Ablekuma North constituency, an order to the Electoral Commission to recollate and declare, especially with the Ablekuma North one. Lawyers of the NDC intended to make a submission that that particular seat has already been declared, and so then they have a motion before the court to be dealt with. The court said that motion is not what it is considering. It will, however, listen to that motion later on when done with all other motions in relation to the mandamus application. The mandamus application is a request to the court asking the court to compel a public officer to do a particular work. And so what is happening currently is that in relation to Ablekuma North and Nsawam Adwejiri, the court has explicitly stated that a recollation and order, a declaration be made by the Electoral Commission. In relation to the Ablekuma, the other constituencies that are in contention, the court have heard them, but we are yet to hear the directive or the order from the court. However, what is also happening now is that as we speak, you can see the presence of the police making way into the court premises. And in fact, the atmosphere here back to what I was saying. So what is happening currently is that the motion or the writ issued by the National Democratic Congress in relation to all the other 5 parliamentary seats that they think that have been declared
in their favor, is now moving that particular motion before the court. So what is very interesting to note is that the court has already taken earlier decision that some of the constituencies be recollated, especially with the Abekumanov one. And that is also one of the subjects in contention that EDG Tamaklo
arguing. In fact, at a point in time, it became an issue of a banter between EDG Tamaklo and the presiding judge, because they felt that their applications were earlier filed before that of the mandamus one filed by the NPP. And so, if anything at all, the applications ought to have been heard, because the outcome of what the court had earlier made in relation to the mandamus application have a consequences. But of course, before I came out to engage you, the court is hearing lawyer EDG Tamaklo in relation to that.
Well, Mutala, thank you so much. But let me quickly find out from you. Did the court give any order as to the time frame for which this recollation ought to be done?
That is not clear as we speak. Or that the court said that the EC is to proceed, and also the court made an order to the IGP especially to ensure that adequate security is provided to the EC and all the collation centers to be able to do its work. So the outcome of what will become of what EDG Tamaklo is saying, and the effect of that particular application seeking for judicial review, is to compel or to make sure that the EC do not recollate or redeclare results. It has to stick to what has already been declared at the various constituencies.
Well, Mutala, thank you so much for that succinct update. We'll come back to you as and when we have further details on that. But what is clear is that the court has given an order that there should be recollation for two specific constituencies, Ablekuma North and then the Nsawam Adwejiri constituency. We'll keep monitoring that and give you updates subsequently. But Chairperson of the Electoral Commission, GHOne Mensah, she's also called on President Akufo-Addo and President-elect John Dramani Mahama and the head of the Election Security Task Force, Dr. George Ekufu-Dampare, to intervene in the collation stalemate for the 9 outstanding constituencies to enable them complete their work in the 2024 general election. So addressing a press briefing on Thursday, December 19, 2024, Chairperson of the EC, GHOne Mensah, insisted the Commission will not uphold the declaration of parliamentary results in 9 constituencies because the collation and declaration did not follow the laid down procedures enshrined in CI 127. Obed Kingaglo has the rest of the story.
The collation of parliamentary results of some 9 outstanding constituencies continues to be an albatross around the neck of the Electoral Commission. The Commission says the collation is at a standstill due to threats by supporters of political parties who thronged various collation centers, vandalizing properties and electoral materials, including pink sheets required for collation.
The directive to the supporters to besiege the constituency collation centers was targeted at destroying this documentary evidence, that is pink sheets, ballot papers, results collation forms, and computers, and to erase and wipe out all documents to be used for the collation.
For the Electoral Commission, upholding the declaration in these constituencies will set a bad precedent for the democratic credentials of the country.
It is important to note that the declarations made by our staff were made under threat. The Commission considers this as illegal. Those declarations, as well as others that have gone on in other constituencies, will not be upheld by the Commission.
Chairperson of the Elections Management Body, GHOne Mensah, also wants President Akufo-Addo, President-elect John Dramani Mahama, and head of the Election Security Task Force, who doubles as the IGP, Dr. Ekufu-Dampare, to intervene to ensure a smooth running of the declaration of the outstanding constituencies.
We therefore use this occasion to humbly call on the President of Ghana, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, as well as our President-elect, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, to intervene in this matter so as to ensure that the Commission is provided with the necessary security and protection to carry out its functions.
The Commission was, however, silent about the injunction application filed by the National Democratic Congress with regard to the Nsawam Adwejiri constituency collation results. The Commission contends that until the security provides maximum security, the election will remain at a standstill. For GHOne News, Obed Kingaglo, Accra.
So it's almost 2 weeks after the December 7 general elections, but the matters continue to linger. Now, reacting specifically to the posturing of the EC chair on the 9 disputed constituencies, the NDC believes that the EC chair is acting illegally. Now, they cite CI 127 to buttress their point. Listen to the Deputy Director of Elections and IT for the NDC, Dr. Rashid Tanko Computer.
Madam Mensah doesn't have the power she's given to herself to set aside a declaration so made by a returning officer. She doesn't have that power. The commissioners don't have that power. We are all using the CI 127. I'm saying, did you mention which part of CI 127 that gave her that power to set aside a declaration made by a returning officer? She is a returning officer for presidential election, not parliamentary. Her duty in this instance is when a writ is brought back to her, the commission, that is why they say the Form 1B, when the returning officer returns the Form 1B to her, their duty is to gazette it. When they gazette, if somebody is having grievances, the person will go to court. But it is not for her to sit in her office and say that because of 1 or 2 reasons, I am not going to uphold this result. She doesn't have that power. Which part of the law says that she can uphold a resource? She doesn't have that power. Has she forgotten so soon in 2020 when we asked for recollection of Techima when the place was vandalized and people were killed? She went ahead and announced the results. We asked that they should do a recollection. She wrote back to us telling us that so long as a declaration is made, they cannot be recollection. We have the letter with us. What has changed? Has Ghana changed? Has the CI changed? The same CI we are using now. So when it was good for NPP, she didn't see anything wrong with that. Now declarations are made for NDC and she has problems with that. She thinks that she must go ahead and do recollection just to save their paymasters. Who agree? We are not going to accept this.
Well, still on the aftermath of the elections, Care for Free and Fair Election Ghana says it is deeply concerned over recent reports suggesting an attempt by the Electoral Commission chairperson GHOne Mensah to annul the election results of some 9 constituencies. Now, the Commission ruled results from those constituencies were collated or announced under duress. Now, the group says such a move is illegal, unconstitutional, and undermines the principles of democratic governance in Ghana. So we'll get to Zoom now and speak with the Executive Director of Care Ghana, David Kumi-Addo. He'll be joining us shortly. But as and when we are able to raise David, we'll have that conversation because they believe strongly that, as the NDC says, the posturing of the EC chair on the disputed 9 constituencies is illegal. Now, security analyst Professor Kwesi Enin is asking the Electoral Commission to collaborate with the Election Security Task Force and adhere to their security assessments. This, he says, is to have the recollation done in a more secured environment. Now, his comment comes after the Electoral Commissioner GHOne Mensah called on President Akufo-Addo and the President-elect John Dramani Mahama to intervene in the ongoing brouhaha surrounding the 9 outstanding constituencies. Now, the risk assessment and threat expert added that tension remains rife while the country cannot afford any escalation.
That's not make security policy. It's only an implementing agency that follows the instructions that are legally and legitimately issued. The EC seems to be tagging on to that debate. And I think that is most unfortunate. The 2 institutions are partnered very well before, during, and after. If there are intelligence assessments that says, look, continuing the collation can lead to demonstrations, riot, clashes between different parties. So hang on, let tensions, subside, right. And that is legitimate. The ultimate aim is that all constituencies have legitimately elected MPs, in which there's agreement about that majority that makes them win, so they can go to Parliament. After all, now for 4 years, they didn't have representation.
Right.
That was not enough. So we've been there before. It should begin to learn lesson. Okay? The EC cannot and must not make decisions that do not inure to the benefit of the country.
Very well.
Okay, we need to learn to work together as institutional partners, listening to where each institution is strong and get the best benefits from this partnership.
Very well, Professor.
Well, Professor GHOne has also weighed in on the ongoing discussions about the possible removal of Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Ekufu-Dampare, particularly regarding his handling of election security. Now, Professor GHOne described the calls for Dampare's removal as politically motivated, emphasizing that such claims are not based on the IGP's performance or actions. Now, he cautioned against the use of security sector as a political tool, arguing that undermining Dr. Dampare's authority could have negative consequences for law and order in the country.
On the day the IGP was appointed, there were conspiracies to oust him. Why? Because he has been firm, he sought to transform his institution, and the generality of the Ghanaian public think he has done well. I've seen more than 6 or 7 different long letters from withdrawing money from the IGP's account in the Bank of Ghana to making dubious promotions to everything. So even if Inspector General Dr. Ekufu-Dampare coughs during a press conference, his detractors will say, that's enough, why should he cough in public? He wears a beret. I've seen and heard people lambasting for wearing a beret in his official uniform. So when you do a good job or you try to do a good job, people are going to come after you. This is just one in a litany of letters and accusations. If he goes, it is not the IGP as an individual who loses. It is the Republic of Ghana and our security governance that loses.
Well, from the corridors of elections, let's move to Parliament, where there was some drama in the House yesterday when Minority Leader Dr. Kasiala Tuforsen made a bizarre request to be allowed to lay the mini-budget on behalf of President Akufo-Addo. Now, the development follows constant delays from Finance Minister Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam in laying the expenditure in advance of appropriation, in which the government is requesting over 68 billion cedis for the first quarter of 2025. Now, failure to approve the mini-budget will lead to a government shutdown at the beginning of next year. After the finance minister failed for the 4th time to show up in Parliament, Dr. Tuforsen pleaded with the Speaker, Alban Bagbin, to be allowed to take matters into his own hands.
Taking the words of the Deputy Whip seriously, tomorrow the Minister responsible for finance will appear before us and present to us the expenditure in advance of appropriation. Mr. Speaker, I also want to convey to the Minister and His Excellency the President that the Constitution places an obligation on the President to present to this House before the year ends expenditure in advance of appropriation for the first 3 months of the year 2025. And this is Article 80. The Speaker, aside that, the PFM Act, the Public Financial Management Act, places a responsibility on the Finance Minister to act on behalf of the President to present the estimate before us. And there are severe penalties for not doing it.
Now, Deputy Majority Whip Habib Idrisu, however, opposed the request, arguing that the sector minister will show up today to do the needful.
Appropriation on account from January to March 2025 is an important document. the finance minister ought to do that on behalf of the president. The finance minister have given indication that he's ready to do that, but he's unavailable, absent at the moment. So tomorrow it can be laid and taken, but for us to say that a different minister should do that. This is very important document. Without authorization, neither does he have any indication to do.
Well, also, Speaker of Parliament Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagbin buttressed that point and asked the House to allow the Finance Minister to initiate the process himself, given the fact that this is a constitutional requirement.
Honourable members, clearly we have no option than to wait on the Minister for Finance, because this is not just an ordinary paper. It's a paper coming under Article 179. And the authority is vested in the President of the Republic. And so we will wait until tomorrow. And if that is done tomorrow, we may have to set extra hours to be able to consider and pass.
So let's get further updates on this and find out what exactly is happening in the House now. Ibrahim Al-Hassan is our Parliamentary Affairs correspondent, and he's joined us via Zoom. So, Ibrahim, what really is the situation now? Is the Finance Minister in the House to lay the budget?
Well, he has no option but to be in the House. But as we speak, Mohammed Amin Adam, doctor, is yet to come to Parliament. Of course, sitting is even yet to commence. But that's not surprising. Yesterday, sitting commenced right after midday, right? But of course, there are some outstanding issues that are supposed to be dealt with. And as Speaker indicated, it won't be out of place for the House to even sit tomorrow, even though some minority members of Parliament have kicked against that suggestion that the House rises tomorrow rather than today. And so what will happen is that Mohammed Amin Adam, the Finance Minister, will initiate the process. After the paper is laid, the paper will then refer to the Finance and then the Budget Committee. They will then work on the estimate and then present a report to the plenary. And then the plenary will then approve this particular mini budget or expenditure in advance for appropriation. This will then culminate into the passage of the appropriation bill, also in advance of the appropriation, to enable the president, I'm talking about both the outgoing president, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and the incoming president, John Dramani Mahama, to be able to spend from the consolidated fund, because the Appropriation Act that's in existence will expire by the end of this particular month, December, which then means that if this particular mini budget is not presented and approved, the outgoing president cannot spend from beginning of next year, and then the incoming president, we call it, not be able to stop to spend from the consolidated fund. Now, that's why Dr. Kisela Atufos, the minority leader, yesterday issued a stern warning to Mohammed Amin Adam that this is a constitutional requirement. If he fails to do that, he will be a candidate for jail. But of course, per what we understand, that will not happen because he's expected in Parliament today, even though he's yet to arrive. Joshua.
Interesting. And so clearly there should be some level of hesitation, especially telling us exactly what needs to be done after this particular bill is laid. Does it look like Parliament can indeed rise today, or we're looking at tomorrow?
Yes, everything looks like Parliament will not be able to rise today, but Parliament will rise tomorrow. Especially given the fact that members of Parliament, both the victorious and the vanquished, will have to go back to the constituencies to celebrate Christmas. Now, aside that, government is actually requesting for a little over 68 billion Ghana cedis, and that should not take so much time for this approval, especially given the fact that this will be in the interest of both parties, minority, majority. So yes, the House is more likely expected to rise tomorrow rather than today, Joshua.
Thank you so much, and happy birthday to you as well.
Thank you, Dr. God bless you.
All right, so that's head of political desk and also parliamentary affairs correspondent Ibrahim Al-Hassan there. But imagine working with someone for 4 years and that person does not know you by name or face. Now, that is exactly what happened between the Speaker of Parliament, Albert Bagman, and Doma East MP Paul Chumberima on the floor of the lawmaking house on Tuesday. Now, let's take a look at the moment the lawmaker was asked by the Speaker who he was.
Which constituency? The Vice constituency. The old lady. Sorry? The old lady. Old lady. Mr. Speaker, it's unfortunate. An old lady kicked my ass. Oh, sorry, you lost the elections. Yes, Mr. Speaker. To an 82-year-old woman. That's why you want to be heard for the last time. I understand. Mr. Speaker, your son has always been heard. You know I understand. Yes, honorable members.
Well, the minority in Ghana's 8th Parliament is fighting the majority leader, Alexander Kwamna Afenyo-Markin, over what they claim is his attempt to scuttle the third reading of the Environmental Protection Authority bill before the House rises. Now, according to the Deputy Minority Whip, Ahmed Ibrahim, the majority asked the Minister for Environment, Science and Technology to step out of the chamber to prevent her from laying the bill for the third and final reading. Here are excerpts.
With the third reading, then for you to accompany the minister out just because you are going into opposition. Leader, you seen today, but you don't know tomorrow. What you said earlier on will appear in the Hansard. When you said you are not going to pass this for our side to come and get the money, it will appear in the Hansard. And now physically you have walked the minister out. Ghanaians have seen you as the leader of the house. Is that the kind of example you are setting for us to follow? Mr. Speaker, I think the leader should produce the minister to come and move the third reading of the motion. Because we supported you to move the motion, to move the consideration of the bill to this far.
The majority leader has not indicated anywhere that our side of this house is not prepared to pass this bill. The minister was here. The minister just walked out. And how do you accuse the majority leader of walking the minister out? Mr. Speaker, I think it is so unfair. This is a house of records. Mr. Speaker, this is a house of records. And I think it's important that we respect leadership. Let us respect leadership. If the majority leader were to have spoken on this floor, to have said that he is not going to allow this bill to pass, yes, then you have cause to complain. But he has not said so. So please, let us not accuse our majority leader. I think it's unfair. If it is done to you, Ahmed, if this is done to you, you will not be happy. So do not do same to Afenyo-Markin.
Where Honorable OPK is sitting, he was not following. If he was following, he wouldn't talk the way he spoke. Yes, the leader himself, who sits here, who said the words, has not argued. But because you were not paying attention, you found the words, you were not paying attention. Honorable OPK, you are specialized in just making noise. You are not following. You see what you are good at.
In the last minute before the laying, our colleagues said they've changed their mind, which we respected. They wanted to go by majority decision. No problem. To lay and debate it again, they say no. Mr. Speaker, how do we make progress? And to turn round for Honorable Ahmed Ibrahim, who I respect so much, to turn round and argue with some force that I, who lead government business, is not interested in government business, is with the greatest respect very rich.
I'll leave it to posterity. I rest my case, Mr. Speaker.
Well, let's leave Parliament now and talk about corruption, because President-elect John Dramani Mahama's Operation Recover or Loot team has announced secure channels for reporting suspected corruption cases. Now, in a circular signed by the spokesperson of the Mahama transition team, Felix Kwachofosu, they guaranteed the confidentiality of information submitted through the platforms, ensuring that all tips will be treated with the utmost discretion. Now, excerpts on your screens now, it says that the anti-corruption preparatory team set up by President-elect His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has launched various platforms through which members of the public can securely forward information on suspected acts of corruption. Now, members of the public wishing to share any information on suspected cases of corruption can reach the team on the toll-free number 0800 900 111, its website www.oralgh.org, or via email through public@oralgh.org. Now, the public is hereby assured that information sent to the team will be handled expeditiously and with utmost discretion. Now let's talk about health, because the minority in Parliament has raised an alarm over the recent cholera outbreak in some parts of the country. Now, according to the NDC MPs, the outbreak recorded in Greater Accra, Central and Western regions is likely to become a national pandemic if immediate measures are not rolled out. Addressing the media, Minority spokesperson on health, Kwabena Minta Akando, who is also MP for Dwaboso, revealed that 123 cases and 15 deaths were recorded in the Western region on December 17, 2024, with 15 health workers being infected while caring for the patients. The Dwaboso MP charged the government to take action before it's too late.
Across the country, the alarming rates of death linked to cholera infection clearly point to the broader neglect of Ghana's health sector. Poor working conditions for healthcare workers have led to the high attrition rates, while a lack of essential medical consumables have hampered the treatment of admitted patients. On November 28, the World Health Organization donated critical life-saving logistics to Ghana to support the management of cholera outbreak. Unfortunately, inefficiencies in the distribution of these vital resources have created significant bottlenecks, undermining effective case management in the outbreak zones. Many health facilities have been pushed to the brink, with administrators now resorting to appeals for assistance from corporate organizations and individual philanthropists to secure essential supplies such as fluids and bedding for critically ill patients. This dire situation clearly shows the administration's failure to adequately prepare for and respond to public health emergencies. The situation is worsening. According to WHO, over 2,039 cholera cases were recorded in November 2024 alone. If the current trend persists, the number will rise even higher. The daily situational report on cholera are deeply alarming. For instance, in the Western region, on December 17th, just 3 days ago, 123 cases and 15 deaths were recorded in a single day. Disturbingly, healthcare workers are also falling victim to the outbreak, with 15 healthcare workers infected while caring for patients in the region. Without immediate and decisive interventions, Ghana risks facing a full-blown cholera epidemic before the incoming administration takes over from the outgoing MPP regime. It is deeply concerning that what could have been a minor cholera outbreak has instead exposed the fragility of our healthcare system. This outbreak, which should have been controlled weeks ago, continues to escalate due to the systemic neglect and inefficiency. The minority urges government to act swiftly and decisively to address these challenges by ensuring resources are adequately allocated.
Now, the Western Regional Coordinating Council has issued a ban on the sale of vegetables by food vendors as the region continues to record cholera cases. Now, the decision, which was taken on December 10, comes after environmental surveillance investigations revealed that about 96% of cholera infections were linked to food vendors, particularly through the sale of contaminated vegetables. And so that's the update coming in from the Western region, even though we also know that the Ghana Health Service also instituted measures to vaccinate people in the region against cholera. Meanwhile, the Ghana Health Service is also stepping up efforts to combat the spread of cholera, especially as we inch into the Christmas festivities. So the Ayawaso West Municipal Health Director, Dr. Louisa Ademki-Mate, spoke to Sawami here earlier on what we should be looking out for and why we should protect ourselves against cholera.
These recent times, especially because Christmas is coming up, a lot of festivities, I would advise that if you go out as much as possible, try and eat hot food.
Okay.
Because the bacteria is killed by heat. So as much as possible, let's avoid cold food because then it will sit on it. But once the food is hot, the likelihood that the bacteria can survive on it is so as much as possible. Let's not be doing ice cream because it's Christmas time. You won't take your children out, you want to go and buy them ice cream. Ice cream is cold food. So if it's contaminated, you are likely to have the bacteria survive in it and all that. As much as possible, let's avoid eating food that we didn't prepare ourselves. You can prepare your own veggies at home, but you can have it contaminated because you don't know where it came from, and the washing must be done and done well. Vinegar, salt to wash it and wash it well and dry and make sure that it's clean. Just open it, the lettuce, open it up, be sure that there are no browny things in there. The fruits and vegetables must be washed and washed well, even if you are preparing it yourself.
Well, you're still watching news from here on GHOne television. It's time to do business.
The business segment is
players in the hospitality industry have expressed their readiness to receive tourists both domestically and from the diaspora for the upcoming Christmas festivities. According to them, prior to the 2024 elections, most early bird reservations were cancelled, but following the peaceful outcome of the elections, these cancellations have been reactivated. So with various events being organized across the country, industry players are optimistic that the season promises to be lucrative. Let's now engage Benjamin Afunya, who is the Greater Accra Regional Chair of the Ghana Hotels Association. Mr. Afunya, thank you so much for joining us. Well, we apologize profusely for that interruption. We'll raise Mr. Afunya and have a conversation on their preparation. But let's talk finance, because financial analyst and banking consultant Dr. Richmond Etiahene has challenged a session by the finance minister, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, that the economy is solid, arguing the recent positive outlook is artificial. Now, the President-elect John Dramani Mahama has emphasized several times that he will be inheriting a weak and sick economy, contrary to what the Finance Minister has said. But speaking to Nade Ditete, Dr. Tiahini argued that the resilient outlook painted by the Finance Minister is artificial.
On the day the IGP was appointed, there were conspiracies to oust him. Why? Because he has been firm, he sought to transform his institution and the generality of the Ghanaian public. I think he has done well. I've seen more than 6 or 7 different long letters from withdrawing money from the IGP's account in the Bank of Ghana to making dubious promotions to everything. So even if Inspector General Dr. Akufu Dampare coughs during a press conference, his detractors will say, that's enough, why should he cough in public? He wears a beret. I've seen and heard people lambast him for wearing a beret in his official uniform. You know, so when you do a good job, or you try to do a good job, people are going to come after you. This is just one in a litany of letters.
Well, we apologize for that wrong inset there. Now, the minority in Parliament has raised concerns over alleged corruption surrounding the government's decision to contract a private entity for the operation of the new commissioned e-gate system at the Kotoka International Airport. Now, speaking to journalists in Accra on Wednesday, December 18, 2024, the Minority Chief Whip, Gavin Kwame Agboja, described the agreement as a clear case of create, loot and share and urged the government to discontinue it.
This is an illegality. Do not proceed. And every civil servant who is involved in a hasty decision to sign an agreement with this entity, I have decided not to mention the entity, but this entity specializes in getting soft money from DVLA, Passport Office, National Identification Authority and other things. This time round, it's not going to happen. So, Bank of Ghana, Ministry of Finance, Ghana Immigration Service, by the laws that we pass in this house, that activity was not supposed to be an operation by Ghana Immigration Service. It's an integrated service that is supposed to be provided at the airport. There's no need for us to do what they are doing. So the e-gate cannot be $147 million, just the provision of service, when the entire airport costs $250 million. So we are watching. So if you are a civil servant being cajoled to go ahead and do this agreement, we are watching you. When you tried to open the account last week at Bank of Ghana, we knew what you did. Who is going to be drawing money from that account? We are watching you. When the political actors who are compelling you to do this are gone, on the 7th of January, you'll be on your own. So do not put yourself into any trouble. So those who are in the process of signing this dirty agreement, be warned that when the political paymasters are gone, you will be in the system, you will be in the dock. So save yourself. Don't do it. This e-gate project at the airport is not ripe for signing of anything. VFM is not out. The business case that was developed is not fit for purpose. We can't spend $250 million to build an airport, and the activation of the e-gate will be $147 million. This is a crime against the state. This is at the peak of create, loot and share. And the vice president ought to know better and ask people to stop this immediately.
Well, let's go back to our earlier story on the preparedness of the Hotels Association for the Christmas festivities and all. And we've been joined by Benjamin Afunya. He's the Greater Accra Chair of the Hotels Association. Mr. Afunya, thank you so much for joining us. So really, how prepared are you for this festive season?
Thank you so much, and thank you to your listeners and our viewers as well. We are fully prepared. But this is not the first time we are doing this. Every year, we've been preparing ourselves for this festive occasion. So in terms of security, we've upped our games. Our security coordinators and managers have put measures in place so that at least anyone that comes to our facilities will be safe. So what even they are doing is that they are even outsourcing other security agencies to come and beef up what they have within. So anyone that visits our facilities and our facilities will be safe and comfortable. So basically, that's what we've been put in place. And then we have wonderful activities for the families that on 21st, starting from tonight, Saturday, 23rd, 24th, 25th, up to 31st. There are wonderful programs that we've tailored in place to make our guests comfortable and memorable when they come to our facility.
Earlier interaction with you, you mentioned that, well, because of the uncertainty surrounding the elections, reservations were cancelled, but it looks like that is picking up. Is that the case also?
Okay, it was not cancelled actually. They knew there would be election. So what happened was that, in fact, they were just looking at the outcome of the election. And thanks to Ghanaians and thanks to our security agencies and the legacy and all the stakeholders concerned the election, they made everything peaceful. So, in fact, before the election, we were doing 40%. And then now, after the election, last week we were doing about 50%, 50%. This week we are doing about 60 to 70%. And I know by next week we'll be doing about 80 to 100%. That is those that are close to events, hotels that are close to event that will be organizing programs here and there. So I must say we are not doing bad at all. I must say, from what we were anticipating, a lot of Ghanaians have, confirmed their reservation. Those also from the diaspora too have also confirmed their reservation. In fact, election is before, during, and after. And I must say, Ghanaians, we demonstrate to the world that, hey, when it comes to election, we are the best of the best, and we are having peaceful country. So, in fact, they have started confirming their reservations here and there. So by next week, we'll be seeing about 80 to 90% or 100%.
Benjamin Afunya, thank you so much for engaging with us. He is the Greater Accra Regional Chair of the Ghana Hotels Association. This is Newsroom on GHOne Television. We'll take a breather now. We have more for you. Stick and stay.
AIB Network. With friends and family. This